Hello and welcome to Janette's TV and Janette's TV podcast. I'm your host, Janette Burke. Today we are joined by Sarah Albert, a patient experience advisor at the Kingston General Hospital in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, and a young mom of a 3-year-old son named Leo. But being a mom almost didn't happen for Sarah and her husband Adam after she was diagnosed in 1999 with diabetes despite not being genetically disposed to the disease or experiencing high sugar levels. Then came more pain and another diagnosis, aHUS, atypical hemolytic-uremic syndrome, which is an extremely rare, life-threatening blood condition with a genetic component that affects multiple organs, particularly the kidneys. It had doctors advising her to abort her unborn child prior to her receiving a kidney transplant from her sister-in-law in 2022. We'll be right back to hear more about Sarah's journey, but first, if you haven't already done so, please click the link in the description box below to join our YouTube channel. And you can support us with the purchase of a Janette's TV and a Janette's TV podcast t-shirt or sweatshirt like this one with either the JTV logo and tagline or an inspirational saying made by me and a previous guest in a previous episode. The choice is yours along with your size and color. All orders include shipping and handling and are conveniently sent straight to your front door and make for a great and unique holiday gift. Now on with today's episode. Welcome to Janette's TV and podcast, Sarah Albert. Hey, Sarah, it's great to have you with us today. I'd like to start out by you sharing a little bit about your journey with us. The fact that you had been diagnosed with diabetes in 1999 without really having signs of it and no history of it in your family. And then moving on to, you being further diagnosed with this rare disease that affected your kidney and being told all of this while you're pregnant and a doctor coming into you and telling you or advising you to abort your child. What was going through your mind and how were you reacting to all of this? Like, it's a lot of processing, and what was happening with you? How were you dealing with it mentally, going through your mind, and also in lieu of dealing with other illness?
Yeah, so my life changed the moment I got pregnant. So in 2020 during COVID, my husband Adam and we got pregnant and found out on my 30th birthday. And unfortunately, we miscarried 2 months later. And once I got the okay and the safety to go ahead and start again, we got pregnant right away. And I made sure I talked to my endocrinologist who follows my diabetes, and I talked to my family doctor. Everything was good to go. Right away, I got symptoms that were unusual. We didn't tell anybody, but I had swelling already. I was tired, high blood pressure, and of course, my OB, she's like, okay, well, it's normal, but let's just keep following you up. As time went on, I couldn't see. I woke up one day and I couldn't see myself in the mirror.
Oh my God.
I ended up getting blood work done here in Belleville, and they sent me to Kingston right away. And again, this was during COVID, so limited to having visitors and restrictions of what time my husband Adam could come and what day. So fast forward, I'm in the hospital. I got tested for everything you could think of. They put me in the ICU. And unfortunately, because of my genetic background, I have a rare blood condition. And with that opened a different gene that is called aHUS, atypical hemolytic-uremic syndrome. It's a rare condition that 1 in a million people get.
Okay, so let's delve into this a little bit more before you start answering the rest of that question, because I did set this up in the intro about this rare genetic disease that affects the kidney. So how did you get the disease? Is it from a genetic? Is there a genetic component to it?
Yeah, so because my father is European, it's a European genetic that was in my blood. And of course, that woke up the moment I got pregnant. So we didn't know, my father didn't know, his family didn't know they carry this gene because theirs didn't wake up. And mine, of course, it did when I got pregnant. So that caused complications throughout my pregnancy. And I still have this condition. And I go on biweekly infusions called Solaris. And I have to do that every 2 weeks.
Wow. Okay, so that's a lot. So you're processing all this. Doctor comes in, tells you to abort your unborn child. What's what were you thinking? Like, how did you cope with that? And what was your decision to not listen to that advice, to move forward with the pregnancy?
So again, I was alone this day during COVID, and I had a doctor come in. Of course, they have students there, so they have about 4 people coming in telling me with papers to get filled out that we need to complete these papers to terminate the pregnancy in 2 days. And I looked at the doctor and I said no. I asked them, I did question them a little bit. I said, so if let's say I terminate my healthy child, what's going to happen to me?
Yes.
Am I going to get better?
Uh-huh.
Will I benefit from this? And they couldn't answer me. They don't know. So of course I'm in the ICU and they told me, well, your liver's failing, your organs are failing. We need to make a decision. And I said, well, I'm here. So I need time to process this. This is not something I can do the next day. I need at least give me until Monday.
Mhm.
And of course that Sunday I got a phone call and they asked me, how am I feeling? And I said, I don't know. I'm numb. And they said, well, your numbers are improving.
Oh, great.
So
But
we are
and
going to continue.
there was no harm to the fetus at this point, just to
There
you,
was
right?
no harm. It was just me. They were more concerned about me. Of course, they did say if things were to progress and get worse with me, that I would have to consider terminating because my life is a priority of two. But somebody was looking out for me, and I feel like things just got better and it happened. I said no that day. And if I didn't say no, imagine that would have been my last shot.
Yeah, that was my next question. So did they tell you that uh further pregnancy was not going to be viable? Like
Right.
to
So
have
yes. So I no longer have children. It'll be fatal for me. So that was my last opportunity and I wanted it.
Okay, that's great that you made the choice to go ahead and have that. And so let's talk a little bit more about so things got better, you had the baby, but then things weren't better because your kidneys were failing and you needed to have a transplant, a kidney transplant. And then the donor process started for you, and it turned out that your sister in law became your match. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that process was like? First of all, finding out that she was a match, and secondly, just the emotional, I guess, turmoil or going through this whole, will you be my donor, knowing that she's in your family and all these different factors are at stake. um Obviously it was a marvelous thing what she did, but what can you describe to us the process of how it came to be that she went ahead and was your donor, and some of the emotional dealings that went on as well? Because I think what I want is for other women to hear this story and be able to have a takeaway from it. I know finding a donor is not an easy thing. So if you could just share with us that whole component of your story, I'd really like to hear it, and I think my audience would too.
Of course. So I know I'm lucky and fortunate to have everything happen for me. Of course, after my son was born, my kidneys fell down to 9%. I had to start dialysis right away. Of course, as a newborn, a newborn mother, I'm trying to like enjoy my first summer with my baby. I'm going out of town, spending a whole day doing dialysis, coming home feeling terrible. So I didn't have that, that part was harder for me because I wanted to be that mother and I wasn't strong enough to. Once I got the okay to get on the transplant list, without hesitation, my soon-to-be sister-in-law, she went and got tested. She called me and she told me she was a match. And for her, she had no fear. She said, we're doing this. She called me. And that's what people don't understand. Like the people on the other side that are donating are so strong because it's a lot for them to go through. And there's so much testing, and the process does take a while. It took about a year of testing and appointments for both of us. Some sooner, some later, depending on your condition. But right away, she gave me that call and she said, we're doing this. And I said, are you sure? Like you have a family. Like I don't want to take away from anybody. You don't have to feel pressure for doing this for me. But she wanted to. And that shows how much strong and strength that she shared for me and for herself, um, which is amazing. And again, the process started. It wasn't, she had a lot to do on her end, but the doctors made sure she was a priority. So they do all the testing to make sure that nothing will happen to her in the future, that she won't have kidney problems. And if she were to have kidney problems, because she is a donor, she will be top on the waiting list before patients. She will be on the top because she is an organ donor. So there is a lot of factors that come with it. But the when she called me, I was emotional. She was emotional. She saved me in so many ways. So many ways, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. There is so much, mental health that women, men go through when they're on dialysis because it is life changing. It doesn't just
Yes.
affect your body, but it affects everything. It affects your loved ones too. It affects relationships, it affects friendships, it affects your everyday life. And she gave that back to me. And we celebrated our 1 year, and as
Yes, it's one
every
year.
each
Yes,
yes, I
congratulations.
know. As each and every day goes by, I feel stronger and stronger. So she is my earth angel, and I feel like everybody should consider organ donation, even if it's live or if it's after death. It's something that is a beautiful gift that you could give to somebody and change their world.
Okay, so we'll get into that in a minute, but before we do, I wanted to bring up a few other points, touching upon things that you had already said, and that is the turmoil, the emotional turmoil that not only you go through, your family went through, your friends, and your sister-in-law. Do you have any advice or tips, mechanisms for coping or dealing with this? Would you uh, tell a donor, a potential donor, who is going through a similar situation, what to look for or what to ask for, or even just some suggestions for how to cope and get through it?
It's definitely having that support system. It's having that support system for myself. It's having that support system for my donor and having everybody around them supporting them and assuring that it's going to be okay. And if something does happen and they need a kidney, that they're going to be looked after as well. It's also just having that, again, that support and that team of doctors that are going to be there for you. That is important. It's being your own voice and having that team behind you to guide you and make you feel like you are in a safe place and you can ask questions and get all the answers that you need, and make the process so much easier for you.
So let's talk a little bit about the actual donor program. I know you went through the Kingston General Hospital, but how does it work? Like, how do you get to be selected? How does the priority list work? What are the criteria they look for to determine which patient is going to get this kidney transplant and which, may have to wait a little longer or maybe not even get it at all?
Yeah, so I do believe it depends on your health history and your background because everybody's story is different and it could take longer and it could take shorter time for people. It's something that the team will inform you and let you know. I don't think there is a priority list. It's just a matter of getting somebody who is a match and then starting that testing and finding the longest part that took was just having that availability in the surgery room, in the OR room. So having that because they are busy with different appointments and different surgeries, and something can come up and yours could get canceled as well,
Oh.
or rebooked or removed. So things do happen in a sense to that. So it's a matter of just booking that time slot once the process is done with you and your donor.
Okay, so a couple of things I wanted to mention. I know the Kingston Hospital Donor Program, it's one of the only ones in Ontario. And Can you just sort of elaborate a little bit on what is the process of knowing somebody if they are a donor or not? What do they go through to find out if they are a match for you?
So it is a lot of blood work. It's a lot of blood work. It's making sure all your genetics are going to be okay with the new kidney. It's CAT scans, it's biopsies, again, testing to make sure that your body can handle a new organ. Some yes, some no. And that's where they start. And then once you are able to get a donor, they have a list. So I believe that it's 3 people that you can have go in to get tested at a time. So they will test those 3 people and see if they are a match. And they go through everything you can think of. They go through the blood work, they go through a social worker, they go through more testings and doctors because they want to make sure that the donor wants to donate, that they're not feeling pressured, that it is safe for them to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so they obviously go through a full screening. Now walk us through, it's the day of your surgery, you're getting your kidney transplant, your donor's there, you're there. How Walk us through that process. What is that like? You know, you wake up together, you're both going into surgery. How long did it actually take and how long did it take for the transplant to be effective? I know you're 1 year post, but maybe you could talk to us a little bit about some of the things that went on from the day you had the surgery till now and some of the, the plus and minuses that have it's probably not been seamless. You probably encountered um some things that you had to overcome. So maybe you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Of course. So my donor, Tara, she went in before me. So they have to operate on her and take the kidney out, make sure it's fine. And as they take the kidney out, then I go in. I get wheeled in to the waiting area until she comes out. So during that time, I was thinking everything is going to go smoothly, but of course, I ended up having a panic attack um, on the spot, and I've never had one before.
Well, that's pretty
Yeah, so that
natural.
was a new experience for me. I was so like, let's get it done. We got this. Like, I am ready to go. I was emotional, of course. I was scared. What if something were to happen to me or to her on the table? And what if I didn't see tomorrow? What if I didn't get to see my son? So
Mm-hmm.
I think all those emotions hit me before I
Mm-hmm.
went into the operating room.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I had my team of doctors. They were able to calm me down. And I did just say, give me the medicine, put me out. I'll be fine. And then I'll wake up with a new kidney. I'm okay. So they did. I waking up was a blur. I'm not going to lie. I don't remember too much, but it took it was 8 a.m. I believe it was done around 4 p.m. in the
Wow,
afternoon
that's a
between
full
both of us.
day.
Yes, between
Wow.
the both of us. Yes,
And
it's a full
was it
day
effective right away, or did you have to go through some adjustments?
right
What was
away.
that like right away?
It
So
happened
everything
right
was
away. The kidney woke up right away. It was working. I was producing urine. Everything was working fabulous. I know in most cases it takes time for some people, depending on the donor, depending if it was from a deceased donor. But because of my donor and her health and my health, it was a perfect match.
great.
And waking up was unreal for me because I'm like, I'm awake. And already, even though it was still a blur, I could feel myself coming alive. And the moment Tara and I were in separate rooms, so the next morning she walked in with my brother and we just looked at each other. We hugged for the longest time and cried because she saw how I was. And I was just so thankful for what she did because, again, she saved me. She gave me life, but she gave me back to my loved ones as well.
Yeah, and that's quite an emotional bond and connection that will probably never break, right? It was beyond sister-in-law, beyond sisterhood, beyond even friendship. I mean, this is just a binding thing, a very emotional thing that's going to connect you forever. So in the past year, have you had any setbacks?
No, of course, the recovery time, it's going to take time. I'm not going to say no, I don't have setbacks because we all have our days as humans. And I feel like people with health issues, it hits them a little bit harder. So, this something that I've learned through this recovery time in this past year is to accept and to listen to my body. So, if my body is saying you need to lay down, I need to go do that. If I need to rest, if I need to maybe slow down, because once I start feeling better, I want to go. I think I can run a marathon and take over the world. But no, it's time to just take baby steps. But other than that, I feel amazing.
Okay, well, that's
It's,
great to hear.
yes.
So now let's turn to your actual involvement with the Kidney Foundation. It's more than in your involvement in your activism. You really want people to understand what being a donor is all about and how it can really impact a person's life. So I know you've been involved in it, and I know that you are active as a fundraiser and also raising awareness of the cause. Tell us a little bit more about what you've been doing to that end and how you've been helping spread the word and what you want donors to know.
It's about sharing your story. It's about inspiring others. It's about giving my fellow kidney warriors hope that things can happen and things can happen in the best way possible. It's about being patient. It's also about inspiring donors who may be considering it in their future and helping save a life. I feel like doing this can change so many lives for so many people. And, I want to inspire my son one day as well. So I'm not just doing this for me, but I'm doing this for him. I'm doing this for my family, because it does make a difference in so many levels of life and bringing people back to themselves. It's a great organization, and it's just about showing what they've done for me by sharing my story as well.
Right. And you are an advisor with them, correct?
Yeah, so I've just been helping out with them.
So, but is there a process in becoming an advisor? Do you have to qualify for that, or can anyone do that?
So
Or
that one
do
is
they
through the
want somebody?
hospital.
Uh-huh.
Yes, that one is through the hospital. So it's a personal choice. They can reach out to people who they feel that would be a good advisor for this, who wants to share their story, because not many people want to. Some people want to keep this in and they don't want this to overcome their life. But again, I want to give back because I
Uh-huh.
feel like I was lucky, and I know there are many people that are not fortunate. So the process is to just get involved and then wanting to be involved. I believe after you have your transplant, they give you papers and you can actually mention that you are interested in maybe moving forward and sharing your journey. And then from there, I believe the hospital chooses where you could stand and have a good role in the
So
foundation.
you're a role model not only for the foundation and the whole process of being a donor and an advocate for donorship, but you're also a role model as a survivor. You can help other people going through this particular situation who may be waiting for a kidney transplant themselves. What are some of the life lessons you walk away from this experience?
Oh my gosh,
What do
there's
you
so
feel?
many.
Yeah, so give us a
There's
few.
yeah.
Give us a few.
Um, Again, it's listening to your body. I feel like it's acceptance. It's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes understanding that we don't have control of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have to let things happen. You need to listen to the doctors, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you need to be your own advocate as well
Mm-hmm.
and challenge people. I also think just having what I had given to me makes me feel thankful, grateful, and blessed, of course. Not to take life for granted, to live life to the fullest, to appreciate those that you have around you, because tomorrow isn't promised. Things can happen. I thought nothing would ever happen to me. I thought I was, we don't think that. We don't know what we walk into a doctor's office and we don't know what the news will be until we hear it. And it's just acceptance.
So going forward, since this experience has changed you as well, where would you like to see yourself going forward? I know you're already doing public speaking. You did a few media appearances as well. Do you see maybe how can you also like take this experience to another level? How what do you see for your future and how you can use this as an experience that might lead you to other things or lead you to other people?
Again, having this experience today with you is amazing. So I want to continue on that journey. I know my journey's not done. I still have a lot of work to do. I still have things that can happen. And I want to keep pushing and I want to keep talking about it and I want to keep helping others that don't have a voice to talk about it, to share, to speak to their loved ones about it, because not everybody has that mental capacity to do. And that's like a hard thing as well. But just to keep going and not stopping. And that's my thing. I don't know which way I'll go, but I know I'm just going to go.
Well, I'm sure you'd make a great life coach too, or even a health advocate coach. And I think the world could use many of that, particularly women who you say don't always have a voice, don't always feel heard. I'd like to ask you if you could provide us with a link, like to a website or something, where we could go to learn more about being a donor or having a kidney transplant, what the process is, that sort of thing, even if we don't live in Kingston or in the
Yes.
Eastern Ontario.
Oh my goodness. Of course. I will more than happy to share the link to you for that. It's very easy to be a donor. It takes 2 minutes on your phone to do. It's amazing. And that's it. You
So
can be a donor that
do you know the link that we could just state it now, or do you have to, prefer to send it to me and we can just insert it?
you can go to beadonor.ca.
Beadonor.ca. So that's anywhere in Canada, right?
Yes.
So it's across Canada. All right. So we're almost at the end. I want to give you just a little time to add in or tell us anything about you, or where you parting words of advice, or where you would see yourself in the future that you would like to share that you haven't yet shared.
I'd like to just give others hope again and don't give up. As hard as some days can be, see the glass half full. Be grateful for what you have today and right now, and don't worry about the small things. I think that's something that a lot of people do, and it's just letting go of that and just enjoying what you have and being grateful for that.
And that's a great positive message. Thank you for sharing that with us. A great way to end this interview. And I just want to say, it's wonderful to see you thriving after a year of this, and that you didn't give up on your goals and your dreams for your family. And you have a wonderful, beautiful son. And, I think I admire you for having the courage to move forward like that. And, I only say good things, like continued good things and more success to you. And thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being with us today and sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being with us today on Janette's TV and Janette's TV podcast. I'm your host, Janette Burke, signing off. Please remember to like, comment, and share all our posts with your family and friends. You will find us everywhere on the TV or streaming side: YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and the list goes on. On the audio or podcast side, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, BuzzFeed, and that list goes on. For a complete list of where to watch and listen to us, please check the link in the show notes below. And until next time, continue to be fabulous.